not normal for your legs to just go numb. Like, at no point is that normal.
It comes, if they could see it, if people
Yeah.
could see what it feels like, it would, I think
This
it would
is
be a
it.
little bit different.
This is it. If there were physical signs, if there were physical bruises, the way it feels, it would be such a different story. But it's invisible, and you've got to fight for your health when it comes to invisible illnesses. You've really, really got to fight for them.
Welcome to the Slut Drops Hurt podcast with me, Maisie.
And me, Beth. We are two fibro warriors intent on sharing perspectives and stories with the chronic illness community.
Expect real talk with a dash of humour thrown in as me and my favourite fibro friend tackle a range of topics.
Slut Drops Hurt. Yes, a rather cheeky name. It comes from our common realisation that as two divas with chronic illness, slut dropping in the club is way more challenging for us, as are many more things in life.
We hope by sharing our experiences with some of you, we can contribute positively to our Spoonie community.
Today's episode is Becoming a Warrior.
This is part 1 of 2 in which we explore becoming unwell and the battle for diagnosis.
Shall we chat? Shall we just get into it and chat? Like, shall we start on what we're doing here? What are we doing here, Beth? Why are we doing it?
You ask an intriguing question.
I know. Why have we decided to put our voices out there for anyone to hear?
Oh God, because we're hilarious.
Because we're funny. I would say we're here to basically put our voices out there for anyone who needs them to listen to. What about you?
Yeah, I'd say that's about right. And to get others joining in the discussion as well, because there's just not enough of us connecting just yet.
100%.
But we should be.
Yeah, 100%. I think, especially with the rise of social media and stuff, we've started to find each other more. But I think
it's made it easier.
Yeah, definitely. I think when you first go through like a diagnosis, there's no like support group to go to or anything. There's nothing like that. So it's
and
nice
the ones you
to
do find are the ones you can find easily enough, like on Facebook. They can be very negative as well. And then you're just kind of sat there like, oh, great, after this diagnosis, looks like my life is over. When in actual fact, once you start to find your own community and start listening to other people talk about it and stuff, it's not as bleak as it first seems.
Yeah.
So it's about finding the right community for you as well after a diagnosis.
Yeah, definitely. And that's why we're here today. It's time to talk about how it was becoming a warrior and what life was like and what you went through and what stages. Now, you're a year in, which is quite different to me.
It's my 1 year anniversary.
Happy anniversary, babe.
Yes, it's been an entire year officially.
I think what is cool about our friendship is we both agreed to kind of celebrate this day for you. And that was kind of a given.
I know, and it's such a weird thing to celebrate because it's, like I said, it is a negative thing, but ultimately I think it's worth celebrating because it took so long to get it. So it's like, you know what, I'm going to raise a glass and be like, well done me for sticking with it for years, trying to get a diagnosis and then dealing with it for the past year, you know? I'm going to celebrate it every year.
Definitely. Like, and I'll be honest with you, I don't even remember the day. It was so long ago. Yeah, that's what I find so weird. Is like, so this is my 9 years, which is mad.
That is.
That is absolutely mad. And I think like watching you and all the steps you've done this year has been pretty cool for me. Like, sorry, that sounds really heartless.
No.
Like, not like you have it, so, but it's been cool to see what you've done with it.
No, but I think the same thing about you. I'm like, I'm so glad she has this as well. Like, I'm not glad you have it.
Yeah.
But I'm glad I have a friend that has it because it's like, oh, this journey is not a lonesome one. Like, I've got people and I've got you, so it's all good.
That's what's been kind of nice. Like, that's my silver lining in you getting it. Is it's like one of my best friends developed fibro, and now we have this new connection that neither of us thought we'd get.
No, I know, this is it, because like before the diagnosis and even before the symptoms, we were friends anyway, but it was always it was almost like surface level friendship.
Yeah,
like
I agree.
We were very good drinking buddies, we were good at creating things together, and like we had a nice time. But like now, it's like I've got my person who I turn to like every time I get a scary new symptom, and I'm like,
Yeah.
do I go to the hospital? Like, is this fibro? Like, I've got like a soundboard like, which I can imagine for you must be really nice as well, especially after like years of not really having anyone particularly close.
Yeah, definitely.
In the same way.
I didn't find anyone else that had a disability really around me that I really could talk to about it until I went to university. Like, so I had people in my school actually. So when I first got diagnosed, there was a girl who got diagnosed with ME around similar time. She got diagnosed before me actually. And another girl who was really sick in my year. And I watched her go through hell, like absolute hell, with something that I still can't put a name to. I never asked. Just, you know, because you don't like, and especially because I was also dealing with my own stuff, and I'd been an able-bodied person and become a disabled person, and I didn't know how to talk to other people about it. And when you're in mainstream school, you don't really have those opportunities. You have these little interactions. So girl with ME, we had little interactions, but we were still figuring it out.
This is the thing as well. Because I know where I come from, there are specific schools for certain learning disabilities and general disabilities and, you know, physical disabilities and everything. But with something like fibro or chronic fatigue or anything sort of invisible illness that is a disability, there's no sort of special school or a special club or a given time of day. There's no conversation around it, like, because there wasn't one to kind of be had, especially when we were in school. Like, it just wasn't a thing. Like, I remember a few years ago there was a huge uprising of chronic fatigue, and all over the news it was like, oh, this younger generation, they're just so lazy. That was the conversation when I was younger. Like, so yeah, like there was just nowhere for an invisible disability to go, which just really sucks. Like, because like, how are you supposed to get through this if you've got nobody there to guide you, help you, hold your hand when you need it? What are you meant to do?
Deal with it. I didn't know how to be positive about my disability until I went to Kent and actually sat and got the chance to talk to other people with accessible issues and a whole breadth, like not just me, like, and chronic illness, like a whole breadth of different issues, and coming together in this weird one way, which was do better university, like, come on. As well as accepting the help that was on offer, but there was more to be done. And it was these random conversations with people that I met that gave me a bit more of a soundboard and an understanding of, okay, I can express that I feel this way, and I can express that I don't know what to do with my disabled label. So yeah,
I like that disabled label. I like that. Same, like, because obviously I started to develop symptoms in uni, but before graduating I didn't have a label for it. I hadn't started a conversation about it yet either, really, not even with my GP. So it's now obviously I got diagnosed like a month before we're put in lockdown. So that's been isolating in its own way. But this is the thing, like social media and online groups and focus groups and chat rooms and stuff have been my sort of livelihood for a year now. They've been the only way for me to sort of reach out to people, with the exception of you. It's been the only way for me to connect with anyone, and it takes so much hard work to find them. It took months to find the groups that were right for me and the conversations that left me feeling a little bit more positive as opposed to feeling a bit more doomstruck. Like,
this is the weird thing about you having your journey, because you found them. I hadn't found them. Like, so I'm like, you became diagnosed last year. It'd been 8 years for me then, and I hadn't considered finding people beyond like Fibromyalgia Action UK or anything like that, beyond those kind of sites, because when I first became
sort of blanket ones.
And the Mighty, which I have a mixed experience with. I think there are some really great articles on there, and I think there are some that I don't really relate to, or I don't find were positive impacting on my life and how I wanted to look at my life. That's my opinion. But
no, I get you.
But great for those people putting their opinion out there. That's brave, and putting their experience out there. That is brave. But just so you get what I'm saying here.
I'm with you though. The Mighty is a funny one, because that was one of the first ones I found, along with Health Unlocked. Now, Health Unlocked was kind of great in the sense that, like, it was literally one person posts a question, everyone else can just answer their own experience. So it's fine in terms of education, where there wasn't just general discussion and general ranting or general uplifting conversations or anything like that. It was people just trying to figure out what's wrong with them on their own. Whereas the Mighty, when I found that, at first I thought, oh my God, I finally found it, the space for illness, because obviously you get to pick from a bunch of categories. So like, obviously you've got fibromyalgia, and then you've got depression, anxiety, all of these other labels, like, and it ranges so far. And obviously you get to pick what you follow. But again, you are right in the sense that what comes up on your Mighty feed is not necessarily what you want to be seeing, because it's such an umbrella kind of site. Like, you can't nail down positive thoughts about depression or poems about anxiety. You can't find specific texts or pieces of writing or conversations. You can't find anything specific. It's just kind of whatever comes up that day is what you get. Like, and obviously if a lot of people are having a bad day at once and you happen to be scrolling, suddenly your day is just a little bit worse because you're empathizing for all of these other people as well.
Yeah, exactly. And it's great people need to put that voice out there, and it's great to do that. I don't fight that at all. I think that's a good thing. But like you said, it's hard to sift through and find the things that are beyond what I call the mourning stage of having chronic illness, which is, okay, I have this thing, this has all been taken away from me. And I'd read them, I'd be like, okay, I'm reading how this has all been taken away from you. And then it would stop there. I was like,
yes, because people don't celebrate the small wins in their days either, because of, especially when you're in the mourning and the denial and the anger period, there is nothing positive. And even those little wins, they feel so small that you're not going to celebrate them, because you're like, well, what's putting some shoes on compared to going for like a 5-mile walk like I used to be able to do, you know? So you are right. And I think it is brave, and I think people do need to express themselves, and I think everyone should express themselves, whether that's with something really downbeat where you need support and you're asking for it, or whether you're celebrating. But it's about, especially once you're past the whole grief stage, you do have to find your right balance eventually, because otherwise you are just going to sit in your mourning forever, and you're never going to really deal with it. And that's what
you're going to sit in that stage of loss for a very long time.
And I think that's a massive part about becoming a warrior though as well. I feel like you become a warrior once you've dealt with your grief and you've started almost like recovery steps. You've started these steps to recovery mentally.
Ask you, like, shall we talk a little bit about that process from like becoming sick to sort of now? That's a lot to cover in like half an hour, but maybe we'll brush on some things.
Well, I feel like it, especially because mourning it's different and it looks different for everybody as well. So like what my morning looked like could be completely different to what yours looked like, you know? Like certain stages will last longer for certain people. Like I found the anger stage was the longest one for me. I was so angry for most of the past year. Yeah. Like the majority of it.
Mine lasted a few years, to be honest. I think I was backward and forward from it for a very long time.
Yeah.
Because I was also a teen. I was also a teenager at the same time. I was extremely hormonal,
And studying and trying to get like your life on track and trying to figure out what you want to be, when you want to be it. And you've got all this like pressure.
And how to be something in an able-bodied world. Like, that was hard. When did you first notice you were becoming sick? Like that? Yeah, let's go to the beginning.
Oh gosh. So mine started, it was so gradual until it wasn't.
Yeah.
So it started off with just hip pain. Like it was just my right hip all the time, just started to ache. But it wasn't like so noticeable that I thought too much of it. And this was about second year of uni that I started to get hip pain. I thought, well, maybe it's just because I'm sleeping in a student accommodation and not sleeping well and the mattress is horrible. So I kind of just wrote it off.
Yeah.
And then it got to third year of uni and I don't think I slept, ate or showered for an entire year. So most of that is on me, but
no, it's not on you. How can you combat something when you don't know you have it?
This is it. And then obviously like I was still trying to be the able-bodied version of myself. So I was just doing way too much. Like I was working full-time, studying full-time, and then doing lots of extracurriculars, as well as going out and drinking way too much because it was my final year of uni. When do I get to do that again?
I did that and I was diagnosed. So don't beat yourself up for that.
Excellent. So yeah, this is it. And it's so for third year, I could mostly ignore a lot of the symptoms. So it's really hard to like pinpoint where it got really bad. But like for the most of third year, it went from my right hip to my left hip. So they both started to ache. And I thought, oh, maybe it's just because I'm a waitress for like 30 hours a week. Maybe it's just a bit too much, but whatever, I've got to pay rent, you know?
Yeah.
So, but then it kind of got to the end of third year and the pain started to go down my legs. And it was like really short, sharp bursts. And it was excruciating. I thought I'd fall over every time it happened. And it was actually quite rare to begin with. It was like once in a while. And I thought, oh, maybe I've just got like a twinged nerve or something. Maybe there's just a nerve in there that's like,
yeah.
But then eventually I kind of finished third year and the pain, I thought it would stop after I finished. I thought it was just stress. Like in the end, that was where my mind landed. I was like, it must just be a stress thing. Once I'm graduated, I'll be fine. But obviously graduation day comes. It's a beautiful day. And not even 2 weeks after graduation, my legs just go numb, like completely lose feeling in them. And this is like on a night out. So it was terrifying.
Yeah.
Like, because obviously I was a little bit too tipsy. And by that, I mean completely trolleyed.
Yeah, fair.
And I was ignoring the pain all night. And on the walk home, my legs just went. They just completely collapsed. I was on concrete. It really hurt. Like I landed on my coccyx and it was so painful. I look back at it now and I'm like, that must have been hilarious. I must have looked like Bambi, like before they went numb.
That's chronic humour right there. I look like Bambi.
This is it. And that's when I sort of started to take it a lot more seriously, was sort of after graduation, because none of the symptoms were going away and they were getting very rapidly worse because the pain was going up my back into my shoulders. I was getting numb hands. My scalp was hurting a lot. Like it wasn't a headache. It was like the hair follicles hurt.
Yeah.
And it was such a weird feeling. And I kept getting, so, you know, like what I know now is noise and light sensitivity. But before it was almost like underneath my sort of skull of my forehead, it was almost like my brain was being tickled. Like,
yeah,
do you know the feeling? Because I try and explain this and I don't know how.
That's a really good way of explaining it. It's tickling my brain. I like that.
Yeah, and it's because it's not painful, but what it is uncomfortable and irritating, because it's like this feeling is like, ugh.
I feel like it's like, because when I get sensitivity to light and stuff, I feel like it's like insects are crawling inside my body.
Yes, this is what it feels like in the forehead. It's like something is just, ugh.
Yeah, that's the best word to just, ugh.
Yeah, this is it with most of our, or at least me, for most of my symptoms, I describe them with a noise.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I don't know how to actually describe it.
But yeah, it's interesting. So the pain was gradual for you.
It was really gradual up until my legs went numb, and then all of a sudden it was like a switch went off and it was just getting worse and worse and worse. Like daily I was waking up in more pain until eventually it got cognitive. But the minute my legs went numb is when I took it seriously and took it to my doctor, because that was terrifying. I ended up in A&E because I can't feel my legs. I'm really drunk. I have to get my blood test done. I hate needles and I'm crying.
Well, yeah, and you're a normal 20-year-old, right? You're supposed to be going out and partying. Like, you're supposed to be going out and do those things. So, like, it's not, it's normal for you to do that. And then, obviously, your body's not responding it into the way you think it is, and then you're probably like, what's wrong with me? Like, why am I doing
and then you get these like looks of disdain from the A&E staff, because they're like, it's a Friday night and you've come in because your legs are numb, you're just far too drunk. My legs have gone numb when I haven't even had a sip of anything. They just do that occasionally. It just happens.
So it's interesting you say that was your journey, because like I had a similar onset of symptoms when I was younger. Like, so I was about 14, 15. I think we'd nailed it down to this, me and my nan. She's part of who I was living at the time. I was living with my nan, my granddad and my dad. And we've nailed it down to around this time of period where like I stopped being able to do things that I used to be able to do easily, but I kept trying to do them. So I was dancing around 4 times a week. I was doing dance classes. I was very into performance, as you know. I went on to do a drama degree. I wanted to be an actress.
Just love the theatre, darling.
I did. I loved it. And I was like, I think I can do this. And I've got to say, I think it was pretty good. I loved it. It was one of the subjects I excelled in a lot at school. I was dyslexic anyway. And it was like, oh, I can do this. So yeah, I was doing that. I was dancing 4 times a week. I'd just gone into a new school after a terrible bullying episode, but that's something for a trauma episode.
That's for a later date.
It's a long story. I'm brushing it all over a little bit. But so we got to this point where I started to stop being able to do things. So like my leg extensions weren't happening. I couldn't split anymore without extreme pain. Dance numbers floored me. I couldn't walk to school without being tired in registration and being like woozy. I was like, what the flip is going on with me? I was very young, and it wasn't until I was around 16 when I had my first fainting episode. Now, like, this isn't a symptom that's like attributed to fibro. I just think I pushed my body so far and was not looking at signs. Because like if I look back at the signs now, I had the similar things: hip pain, back pain, numbness.
But when you're 14, 15, that's such a normal thing to experience because of like growing pains, and like you say, you were very active, your body was under a lot of stress that you were kind of
Everyone
I'm
told
not
me it was
surprised
puberty.
you didn't notice. Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't have noticed at that age because I was going through growing pains at that time, so it wouldn't have even dawned on me to say anything or do anything about it.
And then I just kept collapsing. Like I kept going into school and just collapsing. My legs wouldn't work. Sometimes I'd be conscious, and like I was like, but my legs won't work. So like the Bambi situation, I was like, and I would go down as well. So I'd be out shopping with my friends. I remember this. I was out shopping at friends in Primark. I was around 16. And I went and pulled an entire clothing rack with me.
No.
And they called an ambulance. I was at this point, by the way, where people had called me so many ambulances. I was, please don't call an ambulance. Like, please don't do that.
This just happened. It's fine.
Obviously, they didn't believe me. They were like, go on the floor. Like, what are we supposed
scary
to do? Calling
for people
an ambulance?
That don't know.
Yeah, and I was like, no, please don't call an ambulance. I remember that so distinctly. So yeah, it was a lot of that. And like these symptoms started to really become this group of things. I wasn't sleeping very well. I was getting continuously sick. I was still pushing myself for education at this point because I was supposed to be a normal kid, and these were growing pains, obviously. So I just kept trying to get on with it.
So you got rid of the extracurriculars and then just focused on academics for
all the
time.
extracurriculars went. I stopped dancing. That was the worst moment for me. Like, and I started to just do school, and I did a few acting classes as well, because that's
imagine
adaptable.
They're less vigorous.
Yeah, it was adaptable. But I still didn't know what was wrong with me. It took me until I was around 18 to finally get a diagnosis. So
wow, so you lived 4 years without knowing.
Years. Yeah, and that's what's been really shocking about starting this project with you and actually having this conversation with my family, because I don't remember it all.
Yeah,
I was growing up.
Well, being so young, yeah.
Yeah, so, and they're like, yeah, it's around 4 years of just not knowing, and doctors constantly telling me it's growing pains, you're not sleeping enough, it's your period. My periods were so painful. Now I know that actually can come with it. Yes. And I'm like, no one really put this down until I switched my GP.
This is so important. The GP. That's your first port call. If you get one that says it's something else, but you're certain it's not, make sure you find somebody else. Like just trust us with that one. It's all about that first GP believing you.
Yeah, I found it so hard as well as my family doctor. This was the doctor that saved my mum from miscarrying me. So like,
I've been with him a long time and really trusted him.
My whole life. And he just couldn't pinpoint it. Not that he's a bad doctor in other areas, but clearly he just did not have enough knowledge of chronic illness or something beyond.
Well, a lot of GPs don't. This is the worst part, is that I find with GPs, like even way before I started to get ill, like I remember, I think I must have been probably about 12 to 13. I was in secondary school and I kept getting like unbearable shoulder pain. And my doctor was just like, yeah, it's growing pains, but it was just my one shoulder and it was constantly hurting. And do you know who figured it out? My stepdad. He was like, you do realize that you have a very big book bag, a very heavy big book bag, on that shoulder. And he only noticed it because I bumped into him on my walk home from school and he was walking the dog and he did this to me. And I was like, what are you doing? He was like, that's how you walk, like leaning to your left. He was like, no wonder your left shoulder hurts. Look how much weight you've got it. And the GP was like, it's just growing pains. Because that's what they say when you're in your teens. That's the only reasonable explanation at that age.
It comes down to the thing, how can you be young and sick?
Yeah, how can you be so young and be so ill? Like, you'll grow out of it. Don't worry. It'll be fine. God. You'll grow out of it.
I could not even tell you how many people told me I would grow out of this. Like when I was first experiencing this, like, okay, I get that's innocent, but like, come on. And I know that there are so many spoony people out there that have a similar experience when they're diagnosed in their teens, like, or can trace it back to their teens and have waited longer than me, some of them, to have their diagnosis. And I cannot, like, as a teen, that is so damaging because you're like, I'm telling you something's wrong with me. You're not really listening to me because I'm growing up and it's not getting better. It's actually getting worse. And I feel like you're not listening and you're basically telling me that this is in my head. This worry is in my head. I shouldn't be worrying about it yet. I have all this anxiety about it.
This is the worst thing that I've ever been told, is that you being anxious about this pain is what's causing the pain to get worse. And it's like, well, of course I'm anxious about it because my legs are going numb. Who wouldn't be anxious about falling over constantly? Like, come off it.
Yeah, that's not a normal thing.
Like, no matter what age you're at, it's not normal for your legs to just go numb. Like, at no point is that normal.
It comes, if they could see it. If people could see what it feels like, it would be a little bit different.
This is it. If there were physical signs, if there were physical bruises, the way it feels, it would be such a different story. But it's invisible, and you've got to fight for your health when it comes to invisible illnesses. You've really, really got to fight for them. And that's so draining on anybody because it takes so long to get that first person to listen to you. And then you've got to go through all of these tests. Like, I know for fibro, obviously, specifically, it's a case of figuring out what you don't have to figure out what you do have. So it's so many tests and so many doctors and healthcare professionals and nurses. And a lot of them just look at you like you're absolutely insane because you're so young. How could you be so ill? Like, what's wrong with this person? Maybe she's just a hypochondriac. Maybe it's just anxiety. Maybe it's just stress. And it just gets written off by so many people that you just have to keep battling constantly to get to the diagnosis point, to get those tests done, you know. And I do understand that there are no physical signs, and like having things like MRIs cost a lot of money. I do understand why they're reluctant, but you just have to keep fighting to make them believe you and get that test done, because you never know, it might be something physical and you might be one of the lucky ones that has something fixable, but you don't deserve to live in pain whilst nobody believes you. Like, nobody deserves that.
Exactly. You just reminded me of something as well. I saw a tweet yesterday. I like Twitter. I'm a millennial.
I love a bit of Twitter.
On disability Twitter, which I recommend anyone checking out that hashtag disability Twitter if they ever want to, because like it's a really cool side of Twitter. But it was a tweet that basically said, I have gone to doctors constantly and felt not believed, but I've never talked to another person with disability and they've not believed me. Not believed me. Like, that's why it's so important. I think if anyone out there is listening to this and like still in the diagnosis stage, still find the community. Like, they'll believe you. Like, they'll believe you because they've been through it. And they'll support you. Yeah, especially now in this COVID time. I think people are dealing with these issues a little bit more across the board, which we can touch on at a later podcast maybe.
The disability community is constantly growing, especially like you say with the COVID situation and long COVID now being a thing. The community itself is growing, and there are so many different facets of it. Like, you've got like family friendly disability Twitter, and then you've got like love life Twitter and stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like, there is so many people out there just tweeting their thoughts, tweeting their stories, and it can be really uplifting to see. Especially, I think I saw a tweet as well on disability Twitter that was I think it was one you retweeted actually. I can't remember exactly what it said, but it was about finding the love of your life, and that disability may not be seen by everybody, but some people will see it as positive.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was really wonderful. And I was like, oh, that's just so uplifting. That makes me feel instantly just a little bit warmer.
And it's so true. Like, it is so true. Like, that's why I like it, because you see people that are having dark days, and you see people that are also celebrating their little wins. It's a nice balance.
Yes, this is it.
Tweets are a nice balance, because you can also be there for other people while also taking in others' positivity. It's a nice space.
You can never really say anything wrong on disability Twitter, I find, as well, unless obviously you're being sort of ableist and offensive. But in terms of sending somebody support, as long as what you're saying is, you know, meant to be supportive, people will read it the way you meant it, you know, like we don't take everything at face value, I find, because we know that sometimes what you say and what you're thinking doesn't quite compute all the time, and that's fine. We know that as a community, we are aware that a lot of people struggle with that. So
definitely. I wish it had been around 9 years ago. I wish it might have been, and I just never found it. I think I'd have a lot less mental issues with when I got diagnosed if I'd had that support group there.
I do think there'd be a lot less trauma around it if people had these communities during the diagnosis period.
Don't get me wrong, I got lucky. My family was so supportive and trying to be as understanding as possible. My dad has epilepsy as well. So like they have an insight into what life can be like when something slows you down and it's a bit of a different set of circumstances and you're trying to figure out what the hell's going on. So that was my saving grace. But it would have been nice to have other young people to really talk to.
Have a little after school club to go to where you just vent, or you do nice disability friendly activities. And
oh my god, I still realised though, like this was the day of MSN. Oh my god, we need to move on before I realise how old we are. Like, well, I am. You're still Gen Z. You're fine. Like,
oh my god, no. So there's a new term. There's a new term for my age for 1997. We're now zillennials.
You're a zillennial. Yes, you are, because you are quite millennial in the way you think too.
And like everything, I just can't relate with the Gen Z. I can't do it. I've got the side part and the skinny jeans still. I'm not there.
Never giving up my jeggings, babe. Never.
No, never.
Oh my god, I'm 28 this year. What is that? Anyway, so yeah, the getting sick part is hard.
Thanks for listening to the Slut Drops Hurt podcast.
Part 2 of this discussion is out now on your streaming service and YouTube.
Connect with us for news on our latest podcast projects and much more. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook and TikTok under the name Slut Drops Hurt.
For now, we are sending gentle hugs and wishing you all the spoons you need.